The first food item that we're about to test the lethal dose of is nutmeg. And I chose this one not only because it's surprising, but because this is an actual everyday product. Especially on Christmas, people use nutmeg for savory foods. They use it for like gingerbread cookies. Like, it's so easy to use a lot of this. So we've also got scientific scales. These are those scales that are very precise and like to the milligram. I hope that's a thing. So, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see the numbers on the screen, so I might have to read them to you. I'm no scientist, this is not precise, but basically a lethal dose is how much of a food item you can eat before you die. This is such a light video on my channel. Merry Christmas. I just want to say that I read these in like blog posts, and while I try to be like scientific about it, I'm very amateur about everything I do. So I'm gonna try cutting into it, but basically 0.2 ounces of nutmeg, which we're gonna see how much it is. It's strong enough to give you convulsions. So we're gonna start by cutting that, how quickly we get to the lethal dose. So this is 0.071 grams. We need all the tools here because if I mess up with the scales, this is not going to make any sense because the measurements for this one are so small. 4.68. So I'm gonna try to cut a little bit more. So I'm gonna try to add this much, and that is basically it. So this amount of nutmeg is enough to give you convulsions. It's not that much of a stretch to think that someone would use this for like cookies or for something. According to what I read, a single nutmeg is enough to give you the feeling of impending doom. I think I've lived it my whole life. I'm assuming that when I add this is around how much nutmeg will give you a life-threatening condition. It's nuts. So I think the form of nutmeg that most people use is like in powder. That's such a small amount. Imagine if you make like a cake and you eat the whole cake. That's realistic. That's the amount of nutmeg that you'd use. This is realistic that this goes into bread or cakes or cookies. I looked this up and basically the explanation is that nutmeg is a hallucinogenic. It can affect your psychological health, but also obviously physically as well. I feel like this sets the mood perfectly for the rest of the video. We're gonna move on to the next food items. I don't even know if I'm ready myself. Unlike the first one, I chose this next one not because I find it shocking, like the small amount, like how much the lethal dose is, but because I know a lot of you guys are going to be asking how much sugar does it actually take to kill a grown adult. So we're gonna measure how much that is. Visually, what does it look like? But I think a very interesting thing would be to also see how much that is in candy, in chocolate, in different food items. This time around I'm using a scale that isn't so precise. This one is for bigger units. So that's around 2 kilograms of sugar. So I don't know what that's going to look like visually. I mean, it wouldn't even be possible to actually have this much sugar. Okay, so this is around 1.7. We've all had bad days, but that's a lot of sugar. So on this bowl, I'm gonna try to do 400 grams. This is officially the lethal dose of pure sugar. So I'm also gonna show what it looks like in different candy. And if you're wondering what it looks like, for example, a chocolate bar, this amount of sugar is basically these many chocolate bars. So this will amount to, I think, 35 chocolate bars. Dinner has been sorted for today. My last mukbang obviously depends from candy bar to candy bar. This one is not even that high in sugar. So I also want to show you what it looks like in like regular like hard candy. So this candy is higher in sugar than actual chocolate. This is more like the classical like hard candy. So this is obviously higher in sugar because this is how much it takes to be the equivalent of the lethal dose. When I say I've got a full plate, this is what I mean. This is basically what it amounts to. I don't think it's realistic that someone would eat this in a day, but the fact that we can almost fit it in a plate. This one was different from the first one because the first one was a very small dose. This one I just wanted to show you what sugar looks like because I know many of you would be interested. Before everyone freaks out in the comments, I am going to donate all these chocolates and all these candy. So don't worry, you can't get rid of me yet. If you guys pause this video right now, I bet that no one can guess what vegetable I've got in this bag right here that has a surprisingly low lethal dose. Is it lethal, did you say? Hey Siri, what is the meaning of lethal?
Lethal means sufficient to cause death.
A day in my life. 5 minutes in the YouTube comments, lethal. Enough to get me grabbing a nutmeg. So the vegetable with a surprisingly low lethal dose, potatoes. So before everyone freaks out, No, you can't die from eating potatoes as we safely eat it. But yes, you can die from eating potatoes if you prepare them poorly. How do they not teach this in school? Like, what do I need mathematics for? What else do you learn in school? I've never been. If I had to go back to school, I'd take 2 nutmegs in my pocket. I actually thought that this one was honestly something that I didn't know. Like, no one's ever told me this. I want everyone to send this to their moms and grandmas because every single time I'm like using a vegetable and it's got these dark spots, like in potatoes, they usually have these like roots growing from them. I always think that this is bad for me, but my mom always says, no, it's perfectly fine. You can eat it. Just throw it in there. Wrong. So this is the part that I find the most shocking. Apparently, 3 to 6 milligrams of these roots is enough to kill someone. Obviously, we have to remove all this other stuff that isn't part of it. Ooh, this is a really good one. This one's got like a little root. That's adding up quickly. You wouldn't be able to measure this with regular scales because obviously 3 to 6 milligrams is a very, very small amount. Apparently, you should also avoid any potatoes that has like a green color to it. That's even more dangerous, like even a smaller amount than 3 to 6 milligrams. Look, you can see where the root was growing on this one. Look, even if you peeled it off, it goes quite deep. So this is actually realistic that I would peel off the potato and leave that root on the inside, and like I'm making mashed potatoes and basically adding poison to it. My cooking skills are so bad that it would probably taste better. Me sleeping for 6 hours being like, wow, those potatoes are great. When people say you shouldn't forget about your roots, if I'm right, we officially got to 3.1 milligrams. Obviously, we did not do a very good job at removing the peel, so I know you guys are going to be interested in what the explanation for this is. What I found is that there is something in the roots and the stems and the leaves that is called a glycoalkaloid. If it builds up in the potato and if you leave it for too long, eating them can lead to like cramps, diarrhea, headaches, coma, and death. That's a slippery slope. I'm taking no risks here. This is way too dangerous. These next food items are actually 2 food items. It's not so much about the amount of lethal dose that is surprising. It's more about which part of the fruit is dangerous. And also, I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think it contains cyanide, which I think is a chemical that is poisonous. So this might freak out some people who love cherries and who love apricots or peaches. There are weird people in the world, but I've never seen anyone do this. But if you ever eat cherries or apricots, please don't eat the pit. Don't eat the stone on the inside, because that is the dangerous part of cherries especially. I do have to keep it real as well. The amount that it would take to kill like a grown adult of cherry pits or apricot pits is around 1 cup, which I'm going to show you how much it is. This is almost 1 cup, just a little bit less because I couldn't eat that many cherries in 3 days. This is truly gross to look at. But basically, if you ate this many cherry pits, you would die, which is the equivalent of 2.5 of these boxes. Apparently the same thing goes for apricots, and I'm going to read you the explanation. I didn't even attempt to eat that many apricots to make it a cup because it would be very difficult. So I don't think anyone is eating the pits of peaches and apricots, but I do think it would be literally impossible to fill a cup. You'd probably need to eat like 12. If there's anyone eating the pits in your family or in your friends group, please stop them. So basically the explanation is, like apples, cherries contain a type of hydrogen cyanide called prussic acid, so apparently that is extremely poisonous. So if you eat this, make sure you subscribe before you finish your meal. Not so much about the amount, because I do find this like very hard to get, but more about the fact that this is another one of those things where my mom would probably tell me, oh, it's fine if you eat the stone of the pits of cherries, and actually it's not fine. Like, woman, are you trying to kill me? I mean, I know I was hard to feed growing up, but damn. This next one is so scary that I honestly find it hard to believe. But basically, if you're someone who buys like beans that are dried, you're supposed to soak them in water before you eat them. So these are some pinto beans, and I've got some black ones here, but this only actually works for red beans. So I'm going to show you why this is dangerous and why the lethal dose of this is scary low. But obviously it applies to red beans instead. The lethal dose for red beans is half a cup. Like this right here, full of these dried beans, This right here, if you ate this, if they were poorly prepared, you would die. And I'm gonna explain to you why. Obviously, if these come already cooked in a can, there's no danger. I mean, you can eat all of this. So if you buy this amount, half a cup of red beans dry, and if you don't soak them for at least 5 hours, which is a long time, basically these are incredibly dangerous. What I found out was that red beans have got this very dangerous toxin, which I think is called lectin, and this toxin, if you eat it without soaking the red beans for 5 hours at least, what happens is they will destroy the cells in your stomach, which obviously is incredibly dangerous, and half a cup is enough that potentially could lead to your death. I make a lot of jokes about poorly preparing food on my videos, and I truly don't take it seriously. This is actually something that I possibly do. Like, I could soak these for like 3 hours and just be like, you know what, that's good enough, and then I would eat them. And if I ate this amount, I could actually die. It would be an honest mistake, and once again, no one's teaching you this, no one's saying this. Like, I actually had to research and find this in like different websites. To me, this is one of the scariest one in this video, because I can see this happening to me, and obviously I don't know if this is entirely true. Do your research, but you've been warned. When I thought of making this video, I knew there was one food item that I had to include, and that is obviously coffee, because for some reason there seems to be this general idea that the lethal dose of coffee is very low and very easy to achieve. I drink a lot of coffee. Almost everyone I know drinks so much coffee. Like my parents, they drink so much coffee. I immediately found hard to believe they've lived for many years without ever having issue and drinking so much coffee. I immediately assumed that the lethal dose would be very high. So this one is actually slightly bigger than an espresso. So this is supposed to be the regular amount of caffeine in one small espresso. Before I show you what the lethal dose is, I tried to understand why people seem to believe that the lethal dose of coffee is very small. The lethal amount of caffeine enough to kill a grown human is 11 grams, which is very low. Like, this sounds very, very scary, but in reality, when you're having coffee, espresso, when you're having instant coffee, you're not having just caffeine. Like, it's not pure caffeine. I hope this makes any sense. So let's imagine this is the content of one espresso. Let's assume that this right here, it's supposed to be the amount of one espresso. Just so you guys have an idea of how much that would be, around this much. So I want you guys to pause the video and leave in the comment section down below, how many times do you think you need to drink this amount in order to reach the lethal dose? Because I was honestly impressed. Please allow me to show you how much coffee you would need to drink, as in an espresso like quantity, in order to reach a lethal dose. Yeah. And if you thought that's it, nope. Let's try it one more time. I mean, that's a lot of coffee, so if you're expecting that this is it, I mean, this is probably worth 50 grand at Starbucks and a lot of heartburn. In reality, you would need to drink 4.5 liters of coffee in order to reach your lethal dose. And I'm talking about espresso amounts, so if this was more diluted, it would be even worse. If you think that anyone would ever drink this amount of coffee, then I mean, you should definitely be concerned for them, but I'm gonna have a feeling that that's not the only thing they've got going for them. And if you're watching this from America and you ever wonder what Europe is like, Italian people be like, I don't know how, but I nailed the concentration. I don't know if I should say this, because I feel like I made so many inappropriate jokes in one video. But honestly though, this is the cleanse that beauty gurus and BuzzFeed are hiding from you. I mean, your intestines would be squeaky clean. They would definitely be squeaky. Anyways, the whole point is to show you that even though when you go on Google and you read that 11 grams is the lethal dose of caffeine, that doesn't mean that that's very easy to reach. This is something serious. I think people have died from this, but energy drinks are on a complete different level because they're highly concentrated in caffeine, and if you drink many of those, you could actually get close to these amounts. I love energy drinks more than anyone else, but it's definitely something that I wanted to mention to you guys just so that you're fully aware. So when it comes to the explanation, you know, 11 grams, like I said, is the lethal dose for coffee, for caffeine, but even smaller amounts can cause cardiac dysrhythmia and seizures. Caffeine poisoning is rare by coffee, like I said, but the problem is in energy pills and drinks. I love providing educational content. So right here, I've got a bag of almonds. Please allow me to show you the lethal dose for almonds. And before you freak out, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, nope, that's it. I was very shocked when I saw this. How could 7 almonds like kill you? Like, I would honestly be deader than my self-esteem. I didn't know this, so I thought it'd be interesting to put it in the video, but apparently there are 2 different types of almonds. One of them is a sweet almond and the other one is a bitter almond. And the almonds that we consume, I think, are either sweet or cooked. If you buy it from the supermarket, I mean, chances are we all want to believe that these are safe to eat. But if you ever accidentally eat the wrong almond, if you eat one of the better ones, 7 is enough to kill you. The explanation is kind of similar to the one from the cherry pits, because if you eat 7 to 10 bitter almonds, it's supposed to have a high concentration of hydrogen cyanide, which obviously, as you know, that is lethal. And now I'm slightly scared and concerned every time I eat almonds. Wow, I love my new life. If you guys ever decide to do a Google search on foods that are poisonous or just foods that have a reachable lethal dose, you will definitely hear about this vegetable called cassava. I think that's how you say it. So right here I've got, this is almost 1 kilogram of cassava. According to my research, per kilogram of this vegetable cassava that you eat, you will be consuming 20 milligrams of cyanide. And just to give you an idea of how poisonous or lethal this could be, if you eat 2 kilograms of this, it would be enough to kill a full cow. Like a full-size cow. Like, why am I talking like there's miniature cows? A fully grown, fully adult cow. Like, cows are huge animals. Twice this portion would be enough to kill a cow. Obviously there's kind of a catch. I think if you prepare it incorrectly, which I think involves undercooking it or just not cooking it the way that is supposed to be safe. So honestly, I feel like this is one of those foods that I'm not gonna trust anyone else cooking this for me. Like, Gordon Ramsay can come and he could put like a Michelin star on this and I'd be like, I'm good. Imagine twice this amount. If you've eaten that and if it's poorly prepared, if you don't cook it long enough, or maybe I think it might be like if you don't wash it, it will actually produce hydrogen cyanide. I don't know. Like, people who understand this, please do a good explanation. So if you ever eat this, cover it in antibacterial, boil it for 1 month, and then hire Gordon Ramsay to cook it, and hopefully you'll be fine. Why does it smell like something that I want to eat? When someone asks me how much I hate myself, that much. Yes, you're looking at one of those squeezy bottles of honey. So before everyone freaks out, no, honey on its traditional form isn't lethal or dangerous for you. However, I found this really interesting because I honestly didn't know this. I wanted to share it with you guys. Apparently the honey that we buy, it's supposed to be pasteurized, which I don't know what it means. So I found out that honey can be dangerous if it's not done correctly. If they don't pasteurize the honey correctly, I don't know if it's people or bees, one of them. If you have around 1 tablespoon, and I'm showing it to you because this is like not even a dose. So if the company that made this forgot to pasteurize it, this is supposed to be incredibly dangerous. Apparently there is a harmful toxin called gray anatoxin, I think, which is supposed to be dangerous. So if you eat this for the next 24 hours, just this small amount, so just so you imagine how powerful it is, you would get diarrhea, vomiting, you feel dizziness, like all these symptoms come from this small amount. So imagine if you, like, let's be honest, if I was putting this on top of like bread or oatmeal, I would put a lot more than this. I would think that they would advertise that they've pasteurized this honey, but no. Unsuitable for infants under 12 months, which it could be because, you know, if there's a risk that there's anything wrong with it, they just want to be safe. I did find multiple sources that had very similar amounts and how dangerous honey can be. And this is another one of those things that we're just gonna have to live with. I'm gonna go to bed every day just knowing that I could die from eating honey. Honestly worth it if you really think about it. Honestly not worth it. Like, if I knew I was gonna die, I'd just go straight up for sugar, because I mean, ain't nobody got time for this. Save the bees. This next food item that kept on popping up on my research is rhubarb. I've never used rhubarb to make anything, So I might be the uncultured one, but I wouldn't even know how to use it. We're about to send some vegetables out of the supermarket. So this is around 500 grams of rhubarb, and when I tell you what the lethal dose is, you guys are gonna be shocked, because the lethal dose is around 4 kilograms, which is practically 10 times this. In order to eat that amount of rhubarb, I don't know. The reason why this kept popping up on my search and I wanted to put it in the video is because even though the lethal dose is so high, even if you eat a small amount of rhubarb, even if it's like a little bit more than you should be eating, I don't know, let's say people use this for like for desserts, maybe to like they blend it or use the flavor of it. A little misstep preparing a recipe or adding a little bit too much, it can make you seriously ill. So while the lethal dose is actually hard to reach, it contains oxalic acid, which can cause kidney stones. Very specifically how sick this can make you, and because of that reason, like, I find this scary. I wouldn't have used this in the first place, but now I'm like, is this even worth it? Living life dangerously. It tastes like dessert celery. I don't know. I think this one is particularly interesting if you're someone who suffers from kidney disease. I wouldn't be eating rhubarb flavored things very often if I were you. So there is no way we could make a video about the lethal doses of food and not mention salt, because I feel like we grew up knowing that salt is so bad for you and that we have to be careful, whether it's in fast food or like the snacks that we eat, or just even in naturally in foods. Salt is supposed to be really bad for us. But if you've ever wondered how much salt does it actually take to kill a grown adult, I wonder how many people have wondered that. It's probably me. So this is 1 teaspoon. So I'm gonna fill 1 teaspoon with just salt, and you guys are going to let me know how many teaspoons, roughly 1 teaspoon. You guys are going to tell me how many teaspoons you think is the lethal dose of salt. Pause the video and let me know in the comment section down below. I was kind of shocked by this because I expected to be in the hundreds. Like, there's gotta be, like, you saw that amount of sugar, but when it comes to salt, it's very different, because 46 teaspoons of salt is enough to reach the lethal dose. So I'm not gonna do the calculations. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure it in grams. I'm gonna show you a visual representation of what it's like. 263 seems to be the equivalent of 47 teaspoons of salt. So I wonder if it's even gonna fit here. That's honestly not that much. That's lunch. Afternoon snack, dinner. On an everyday life, I'm these many grains of salt from dying. You guys know that, like, I'm not the healthiest person. I never talk about like healthy things, but I gotta give it to people when it comes to salt, because you saw how much sugar, like it was this and more of sugar, that it was the lethal dose. But when it comes to salt, are you kidding me? Every savory food that we eat is full of salt. Honestly, don't think it's that much salt, and that is the lethal dose. Suddenly I'm gonna ask for my McDonald's fries and salted. If anything, this was an educational video for myself. Like, I talk a lot about like eating like fast food, and like we make a lot of jokes about this, but some of these I was honestly kind of scared. There are a lot more foods with very shocking lethal doses, or just dangerous doses that can make you seriously sick. I would love to do this again. If you'd like to see it, you guys know the drill. Giving the video a like just lets me know if you enjoy the content, or if you want to watch something else, which is totally fine as well. So if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, but obviously only do it if you like my videos. If you don't, maybe, you know, I'll try to do something else next time, and hopefully you will enjoy it then. But thank you to those of you who pressed the subscribe button. I made some jokes in this video that might have been like a little inappropriate, but that's just in life. Sense of humor is like, every time I'm slightly uncomfortable, that's my coping mechanism. I'm sorry in advance, I didn't mean to take some of these things lightly. We're talking about some serious subjects. I should just be doing vlogmas. I love you guys, hopefully you enjoyed that, and I will see you on my next video. I mean, if I make it there. Bye bye.